I still remember the exact moment I realized I was no longer alone. It had been a completely ordinary night at the pizza place. Nothing about the shift had suggested that, before the night was over, I would be driving away so fast that I wouldn't even dare look back. The restaurant was almost closed, and I was working the counter alone. My boss and the chef were still there, finishing up the last things before we could all leave. I was already thinking about getting home when the phone rang. I picked it up. Hello. Nothing. Not a voice. Not breathing. Not even the faint sound of someone moving on the other end. Just complete silence. I waited for a moment, then hung up. About a minute later, the phone rang again. I stared at it before answering. Something about getting the same silent call twice made me uneasy, but I picked it up anyway. Hello. Again, silence. I was just about to hang up when I heard something. A voice. It was extremely weak and cold, almost as though the person speaking had to force every word out. An old woman. She said she wanted a regular pie delivered. I kept my voice polite and professional, but inside, I was screaming. I wanted nothing more than to finish my shift, lock the place up, and go home. A late-night delivery was the last thing I wanted. I called out to my boss. Someone wants a delivery. He told me I had to take it. For a second, I was annoyed. Then I remembered something that changed my mind. Older customers usually tipped well, so I decided it was worth it. I took down the address and told the woman her pizza would be there soon. But before I could say anything else, she had already hung up. I stared at the receiver for a moment. That was rude, I thought. Then I ignored it. I called out to the chef that I needed one regular pie. My boss told me that after the delivery, I could just go home because the restaurant would be closed. A little before 10 o'clock, I got into my car. I entered the address into my GPS. The destination was 7 miles away. At that point, I still had no idea that I was driving toward the strangest delivery of my life. The GPS led me away from the busier parts of town and toward a quiet neighborhood I didn't recognize. The farther I drove, the emptier everything seemed. There were fewer cars on the road, fewer lights, fewer signs that anyone was awake. By the time I reached the neighborhood, the streets were almost completely quiet. The GPS announced that I had arrived. I looked around. The house was small, just one floor, sitting on a block that seemed almost completely empty. There was something unsettling about how quiet it was. No voices, no television glowing through the windows, no movement outside, and there were no lights on inside the house. I sat in my car for a moment with the pizza beside me. Maybe she had given me the wrong address. That was the first thought that crossed my mind. Still, I had driven 7 miles to get there, so I picked up the pizza and walked toward the front door. The street was silent behind me. I reached the house and rang the doorbell. Nothing. I waited. No footsteps came from inside. No voice answered. I rang it again. Still nothing. I started wondering if I had somehow been sent to the wrong place. Maybe the woman had made a mistake. Maybe she had fallen asleep. Maybe she simply wasn't home. I was about to give up. Then I turned my head. Someone was standing at the window. My entire body seemed to stiffen. For a moment, I backed away. There was definitely someone inside. I looked again. It was an old woman, probably in her late 70s. She wasn't moving. She was simply standing there, staring directly at me. I couldn't make out every detail through the glass, but I could see her face clearly enough. There was no confusion in her expression. No surprise that a delivery driver was standing outside. Just a blank stare. I stepped closer to the window. I had the pizza in my hand, and I tried to keep my voice normal. I have your pizza. She didn't react. Not even slightly. I tried again, louder. I have your pizza. Still nothing. The silence between us felt heavier than it should have. Then something changed. A smile slowly spread across her face. It wasn't warm. It wasn't grateful. It wasn't the kind of smile you would expect from someone receiving a pizza delivery late at night. It was simply wrong. And the moment I saw it, every instinct I had told me to leave. I can still remember that face. Even now, years later, I remember the way that smile appeared through the window. It was the kind of expression that made me feel cold despite standing outside in the night air. I didn't know why. She hadn't threatened me. She hadn't said anything frightening. She hadn't even moved toward the door. But something about the way she looked at me made the situation feel completely wrong. I stopped trying to get her attention. I didn't knock again. I didn't ask whether she had ordered the pizza. I didn't wait for an explanation. I just turned around. My thoughts were racing as I walked back toward the car. I kept thinking about the phone call, the silence when I first answered, the second silent call, That strange, weak voice. The woman hanging up before I could finish the conversation. And now this. I reached my car and opened the door. I placed the pizza on the passenger seat. For a moment, I sat there without starting the engine. I needed to tell my boss what had happened. I took out my phone and quickly sent him a text. I didn't spend time explaining every detail. I just wanted him to know that something about the delivery had seriously freaked me out. Then I started the car. The engine came to life, and the sound immediately broke the silence surrounding the house. I was ready to get the hell out of there. I put my hands on the steering wheel. Then, almost without thinking, I looked toward the passenger side. I wanted one last look at the house. Maybe the woman had gone back inside. Maybe I had imagined how strange the whole thing felt. Maybe there was a perfectly normal explanation. But she wasn't at the window anymore. For a split second, I thought that was a good thing. Then I saw her. She was standing directly outside my passenger side window. My stomach dropped. She was close enough that I could see her face clearly. And she was giving me the exact same stare. The same expression. The same unsettling look she had given me through the window. She had somehow gone from inside the house to standing right beside my car. I froze. There was no time to figure out how. There was no time to ask why. All I could think about was leaving. I put the car into drive. And then I got out of there. I drove down the street without looking back. I didn't want to see whether she was still standing there. I didn't want to know if she had moved. I didn't want another image of that face burned into my memory. The car picked up speed as I followed the road away from the house. My attention stayed fixed ahead of me, but my mind kept replaying what had just happened. A few minutes earlier, the woman had been standing inside the dark house, watching me through the window. Then I had walked back to my car. I had placed the pizza on the passenger seat. I had texted my boss. I had started the engine. And when I looked over, she was standing outside the passenger side window. The same woman. The same stare. The same smile that had already made me uncomfortable through the glass. I couldn't explain it. And I didn't try. At that moment, explanation wasn't important. Distance was. I just wanted the neighborhood behind me. The road ahead was quiet, and I kept driving without looking back. Every instinct I had was telling me not to stop. I don't remember thinking about the pizza anymore. I don't remember caring about the delivery. I certainly wasn't thinking about the tip. All I could think about was getting away. The strange thing is that nothing else happened. There was no chase. No sudden figure appearing in the road. No dramatic confrontation. Just that woman standing beside my car, staring at me. And somehow that was enough. Because there was something about the entire encounter that made it impossible to convince myself it had been normal. The phone calls had started it. The silence on the other end. Then the weak voice of an old woman asking for a regular pie. The dark house. The unanswered doorbell. The figure at the window. The blank expression. That unnatural smile. And finally, the woman standing outside my passenger side window when I was already inside the locked car. I kept driving. I didn't turn around. Eventually, the streets around me became more familiar, and the feeling of being trapped began to fade. But the image of her face didn't. It stayed with me. The next time I walked into the pizza place, I knew there was one thing I needed to tell my boss. I was never taking another late-night delivery like that again. My boss never made me do a late-night delivery again. That was the only real consequence of the night. But for me, it was enough. I never forgot the phone call. I never forgot the quiet neighborhood. And most of all, I never forgot that moment when I looked toward the passenger side window and saw the old woman standing there. The strangest part was how ordinary everything had seemed at first. It was just another closing shift. Just another phone call. Just another customer ordering a regular pie. Even when the first call was silent, I could have dismissed it as a mistake. When the second call was also silent, I could have assumed it was someone playing a prank. Then came the old woman's voice. Weak, cold, brief. She asked for a pizza and gave me an address. Nothing supernatural was ever explained. There was no answer waiting for me at the end of the night. I never found out why the house was dark, why she had stood motionless at the window, or why she had smiled that way when I told her I had her pizza. I don't know how she got from the window to the side of my car. I only know what I saw. And that is what makes the memory so difficult to shake. Because if something obvious had happened, maybe I could have understood it. Instead, I was left with questions. Was the woman simply behaving strangely? Had she been waiting for me to arrive? Was there something I had failed to notice when I first walked toward the house? And why did she appear beside my car at exactly the moment I thought I was finally leaving? I never went back to find out. I never tried to contact the woman. I never took another late-night delivery from my boss. The restaurant eventually became just another place I worked, and the night itself became something I tried not to think about. But every so often, I remember that quiet street. I remember the dark windows. I remember standing there with a pizza in my hand, trying to get an old woman's attention. And I remember that smile. Then I remember turning toward my car, believing the worst part of the delivery was already over. It wasn't, because the last thing I expected to see when I looked through that passenger side window was her.